Hello everybody, my name is Chuck Black and welcome to my studio. Today I'm going to do a very cool sunset painting with a silhouette of a rearing horse, and I'm going to do some lighting effects that I haven't covered so far. It's going to be very dramatic, some cool techniques and tricks that I'm going to share with you. So I'm kind of on this silhouette kick and I thought it would be fun to keep this going, so I'm going to include you guys today. Once again, I'm going to cover some stuff that I haven't yet so far, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So I've got my 18 by 24 stretch canvas primed and ready to go, and we're going to use golden fluid acrylics. I'm going to use various brushes like I normally do. So why don't you join me and I'm going to get started. Okay, so I'm going to show you my palette here. I have titanium white, primary yellow, quinacridone red, Prussian blue. This one is cerulean blue, and then of course we have carbon black. So I'm going to start with the carbon black, and I'm going to lay out the sketch that I have here already. And this is so I don't lose it later on in the painting. And you don't always have to start with a sketch like this, but it's a little more enjoyable for me when I do. It makes things a little bit easier, and it allows me to visualize as I'm working on everything else. So it keeps that idea that, okay, here's the subject. The horse is going to be right here. And so kind of keeps those creative juices flowing. Kind of figure out what you want to do with everything else when you have that idea in mind of what this part is going to look like. So I'm just using a regular old liner brush, number 1, and this paint is very thin, almost like watercolor. I've got so much water in it. A little more water. And some of this hair, I'm not going to do all the hair detail right now. I want to do some fine hair detail on the tail and the mane, but it's not going to be until later in the painting. So right now we're just kind of getting the base. A lot of that will get covered up. There's really no point for me to do that right now. There we go. And we got to get some ground. So I kind of like Western theme, being that I live in the Western United States, and got a lot of sagebrush around here, which I think is really cool. I like that. So this is not going to be exact to the finished product, but we're just going to get an idea that the ground is going to be kind of sporadic. Some sagebrush. Be like a sage bush right there, and there's going to be some more right there. Get some more water, some more of that black. There's going to be a bigger bush over here, and come along this way. I don't think I want this to be, I want the edges. I like when the edges kind of frame kind of everything. You want the focus to be in the middle, and so it kind of helps to get that frame established, kind of get that circular, so the edges will kind of come up a little bit. A little bit right there. Let's get that a little darker. Again, this is just to get the idea of what is going to be there, so it'll help me visualize. Alright, I think I'm happy with that. So let's start with some color. And use my mop brush like I normally do. This is one of my favorite brushes. It's kind of thin, but it's wide. It holds a lot of paint, and it's good for just some wide, it blends well, and it's also good for some wider strokes, but then you can turn it, you get some thinner strokes. I couldn't tell you what brand this is. Like, it's all covered in paint right now. But anyways, let's get some white. Make sure this is kind of dry. Yeah, for the most part. So we get some white on here so that we can blend this area easier. We got a little bit of black in that white. That's okay, not a big deal. Can always paint over it. Probably need to wash the brush a little bit more. All right. And we're going to start with some yellow. And I want the sun to be right there. And what I'm going to do is I have light rays coming through the legs, maybe a little bit in this area. You must have picked up some of the black right there. And the light rays will kind of come through. So I'm going to probably about right there. I'm going to take some yellow. I'm not going to cover up where I want the sun to be with the yellow. I'm going to try to go around it. And this white underneath allows me to blend it very easily. All right, so we're going to get that yellow on there. Get some yellow over here. Yeah, scrub that in. And we're going to take some quinacridone. We're going to add that to the yellow. It's pretty pink. A little more yellow and white. We don't want that to be quite so pink, so we got a little bit kind of orange. And I go around this whole area with this color. If you ever look at some of my large sunset paintings, very detailed, take me sometimes weeks to finish. They pretty much start out just like this. Got some idea of what we're going to do. Then you start with the light source and you just kind of work your way out. We're going to take some more quinacridone now. Mix that in. And let's see, let's get some in the bottom here. Go to the top after this part. So I'm having to push a little bit hard because this paint is still wet but not extremely wet. So to get that to blend, to get it to keep moving, gotta get some pressure. And then I frequently will dip it in some water. Keep that moisture on the canvas. We're going to take some quinacridone, add that again, and then we're going to take a little bit of cerulean blue. Just a little bit. Actually, going to wipe some of that off. We're going to add that in. Take a little more quinacridone. I'm looking for like a, not quite a violet, but that deep ruby red. It's got a little hint of violet, but not really. It gives you an in-between. We're going to put that right through here. We're going to get some more of that. It's basically violet with some yellow mixed in, maybe a little bit of white in there. It's not enough yellow to get it muddy, but it kind of gets that off tone to it. And again, this is very thin right now, so it's not really covering much at all. And you can see that when I go over, you can see everything underneath. So we're basically just colorizing the canvas with this color. I don't like thick paint when I start, especially when I'm blending these rich, vibrant colors like the sun, because you can get stuck with things very easily. And not that you can't paint over it, and you gotta let it dry. probably going to take a little more work to fix it. So I start very thin. We can add some thick layers over the top, and frankly we're going to need more than one layer to get the effect of that glowing sun anyway. So you might as well start, make it easy on yourself, start thin. That's at least what I like to do. Of course I like to use my finger. Yeah, it's alright. Very cool. Looks very warm. And I'm not worried about anything inside the horse, obviously, is really covered up. So let's work towards the top. Grab some yellow, quinacridone, get that orange color, add some white. And I'm going to pick up some water, just a little bit. Get that flowing nice. And we're going to start going across the top. Grab some more water. I'm going to take some white and yellow. I'm going to try to blend that into this part. Perfect. And take a clean finger. And we're going to have to blend. Ooh, too much. Too much red there. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, got a lot of it on my brush still. Not a big deal. I'm going to just keep rubbing this out. I'll actually probably get rid of most of it. It's not a terrible thing. Maybe there's some clouds right there. It'll look good. So, leave it at that. We're really just focused on this part right here for the most part. Right now anyways. And I'm going to take some more of this color. And we're going to continue that. Oh, that's pretty rich. And let's just scrub that rich color through here. This is semi-dry on my brush right now. And we'll grab some yellow and some white. And let's just get some of this area filled in over here using kind of X strokes, just back and forth, back and forth. And if you have to work fast if you're using acrylics, of course. But what I'll do is I'll keep it moving fast, and then if it gets a little too dark, I'll quick grab some yellow, a little bit lighter color, and I'll work that over the top. You just kind of keep going back and forth. So that's looking pretty good right now. What we want to do is we want to fade this into blue. And I love, lately I've been experimenting with getting the sun to fade to a very dark blue. And it's surreal, probably not something you'd quite see in real life, but it's kind of my imagination really. So we're going to get some blue out, take some Prussian blue along with some cerulean blue. That's pretty dark, but let's go with it. I'm going to paint this on thick. So I'm going to just leave this right now. I don't want to go too far. Not that I'd screw it up, but I think if we work on this, we might save ourselves a lot of time, because we're going to know how far we want to go if we start going from the top down again. We'll just kind of meet in the middle, figure that out, where the transition will be. So this is thick paint because I know for sure that it's going to be a lot of blue up here. So I'm just kind of mixing cerulean blue and Prussian blue just because I like that color. And I think the whole area in top is going to be dark. And the reason why I want that to be a dark rich blue is because it'll really frame. I talked about framing the focus of the painting. So dark colors around the edges always are a great way to frame your main subject. So just get some dark blue across the top. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, it's going to be kind of like rippled clouds. It's going to fade to blue. So let's just start getting some of that ripple effect with the blue. Just kind of all over the place here. Just have to use kind of your imagination for where this is going to be, how much blue you're going to have. I've got a semi idea of how much I want. Let's get a little variety. And some random areas through here. Some of the dark will splash way down into here. Not a lot, just a little bit. A couple hints. And if you get too much, you can paint right over the top. So some X's in here. I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go. But let's grab some quinacridone. I'm going to keep the blue on my brush. I'm going to dip it in white. I'm going to pick up quinacridone, quite a lot of it. I'm going to mix that in. Ooh, that's a beautiful violet color. And I know we want the transition to use a lot of that violet, so I'm just going to go right in the middle. And no particular reason where I'm putting this, how much I'm putting. I'm just getting some on there. I'm not worried about it because I'll figure it out as I keep going. When I get more of it covered, I'll have a better idea. I know at least myself, I've struggled a lot with, what do I want to do next? Well, you can sit around forever and debate that, but until you actually get some paint on the canvas, you're probably going to struggle on what you are going to do next. So just, you know there's going to be some violet in here, so just get some on there. If you don't like it, paint over it. It's at least kind of the way that I like to work, because there's no fun in stressing yourself out on how you're going to do this. Just do it. You'll figure it out. And more importantly, you'll learn from it. So you keep that going. Take some white quinacridone, some more quinacridone. Actually, let's get a lot more quinacridone. And then let's get a lot more white. Get that bright pink. And then let's pick up a little yellow. A little more yellow. And let's get some of this area in here. Kind of a orange yellow. All right. So, and we'll probably put some of this will kind of spill into this orange area. You know, so there's a lot of clouds. And we'll cover some of this back up again, but this is getting us a little bit closer to what we want it to be. So that's the important thing. And so I think right now what I'm going to do, this is going to be a longer painting than what we have time for. So I'm going to speed it up. And I'm just going to keep doing what we're doing right now. And you'll see me go back and forth. I'm going to add some blues. I'll add some more pinks and some violets. But I'm just going to keep working on the sky just like this. And I'll probably fill in some of the dark area. And I'm actually going to fill in the horse as well with black. So I'll just be using a paintbrush. And then I'll slow it down and we will cover what we're right, so we have the majority of this painting pretty much well established. And I've been using the brush mostly up to this point. But now we want to start refining some of these areas. So the transition between the sun and some of these oranges and then again to the pinks and violets is a little bit sloppy in some of the areas. And as we get lower into the sky, things will start getting further and further away. So we want some of these lines to be a little bit narrower than they are down here. And then we got some of that. It's pretty big splotches up here. And it does get narrower to a certain extent, but I think we want to get that even more, especially just in this area. So at this point though, everything is pretty much well established, like I said, and what we want to start doing is just basically we're going to be mixing the same colors and going right back into all this area and trying to smooth out, especially smooth out some of these transitions from yellow to pink. And we want to just start to clean up everything on this. And so this is dry. So we have a fairly thick dry layer of paint. So I've switched to my scrumbler brush, which is just kind of a round, nice and soft. That fine scale blending is what it allows you to do. So I guess I'm going to start with some yellow and a little bit of quinacridone in that. And this is fairly thin. And it, you know, you're not seeing a lot of changes, but what this is going to start doing is smooth everything out. So it's basically just the goal we want to do. And I think I want to lighten some of this area up too. I like kind of the areas through here, but then it needs to start getting lighter, a little bit higher in the sky. So I'm going to take a little bit brighter, kind of a pinkish orange. I'm going to start working on some of that. Try to mix a little bit brighter pink here. Yeah, I think we can go a little brighter than that. And this becomes very tedious because you're not going to see a lot of changes immediately. But we start giving it 5, 10, 20 minutes. And all of a sudden, you're going to see the big change, big transformation that will take place. And I love, when I get to that very fine-tuned blending, I love using my finger. But I'm not quite sure if I'm there yet. So right now I'm just trying to get something established here. I guess I'm trying to figure out what I'm really doing at this point. Not that I don't know what I'm doing, but this becomes a challenging part of the painting where everything is looking pretty good. It's vibrant, it's beautiful, it looks like a sunset. And at this point, you have to become very picky. And you might be happy with this, just the way it is. And that's fine, but I'm looking for an effect that is a little more realistic. And that takes a little bit of extra effort if that's what you're looking to accomplish. So this is it's a very thin layer. You can see when I come over the black. It's very thin, doesn't cover a lot. It's kind of semi-dry. And as we keep adding, basically it's almost the same color as what's already on there. As we keep adding that, it's going to become a lot more buttery smooth. And I kind of step back a couple times. And I think the way we get that effect of where I talked about things getting a little bit thinner, we start taking away these big areas and just try to cut them in half. I'm going to take some pink, some yellow, just going to cut that right in half, about half the size. I'm going to try doing that to a few of these. And at some point, I'm going to have to switch to another brush to get those a little bit thinner. And I think I'm going to let this rest right now. Let's go a little bit lower down here. Try to get some of these transitions, just smooth some of this out a little bit. Let's get some water. Thin that down a little bit, make it flow. You can see how much we're putting on when it goes over the black. Not a lot, but enough to start filling in some of those rough areas. Basically the same color as what's on there, but when you put that thin layer over the top, it starts filling in the gaps a little bit. It's going to look a lot better. Yeah, let's get that a little bit darker. Take a little bit of blue with this. That's a dark violet. Now let's try it anyways. A little water with that. A little too much water. Yeah, it's about right. Got a little white in there. That's all right. It's kind of cool. We'll leave it. Little effects like that. Sometimes it's an accident. Hey, that'll work. Okay, so I like that. Make it a little more blue in here. Right through there. Let's get that smoothed out. Move my canvas around a little bit. All right, and let's pick up some quinacridone. Let's get a violet going. And these areas that transition from pink to blue, very watered down. This is like glazing now. And I'm just going to start using my finger just to blend. I'm going to start blending any transition between any two colors. I'm going to try to match that transition area. I'm just going to try to blend it out with my finger. And I'm going to keep doing this over and over until I'm happy with it. It might take a while. So, this is a good point to speed it up again. And we're going to come back. I'm going to keep doing this with my finger. And we're going to come back when I'm ready to add some cool effects to the sun and the horse. All right, this is looking pretty good. I am happy overall with the sky. And I know last time in my last lesson, I told you guys that I like to wait until the very end to fill in the focus of the subject, which would be, in this case, the horse. And you're probably wondering why I did this beforehand when I said I don't like to do that. Well, when I have the sun so close to my subject, I guess I needed that contrast between the black and the brightness of the sun. Because it's so close together, I needed the visualization of the horse against the sun so that I could kind of compare what I was doing back and forth. So I guess in certain cases, and this would be one, I do like to fill in my subject early on when I need to compare, so that I know that when is going to be bright enough, when is going to be dark enough. It's just different things. So in this case, when I've got everything going on right here, the whole focus of everything, the sun's not up here, it's right there, so is the horse. So I guess that's why I put the horse together first. So anyways, the next thing I'm going to do here, and I've been blending with my fingers kind of all over, just back and forth, we're going to work on how to create what brings that sun alive to the point where we think that you can almost feel the warmth in your mind, or where you think that it's an actual light source. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix, got a really dirty palette here, I'm going to mix some orange, and this is really watered down. I'm going to take, this is now Naphthol red, just a very standard primary red, and I've got it very, very watered down. What we're going to do with a clean finger, in the area, so the sun is going to be, say if we were looking behind through the horse, that area of white is going to be somewhere in here. So let's spread that red right through there, and it's very transparent. And then you can see the bubbles in the water, very, very transparent. I take my finger in little circular motions, and I'm going to start rubbing that around to the point where it starts to dry, and I'm going to keep feathering that away. Now it's starting to get sticky, and that's about good enough for the first layer. Now this takes many layers to do, so let's get this leg. So this leg would be actually closer to the sun. So let's make that leg a brighter red. And this isn't going to be just red. I'm going to add more colors on top, but I'm starting with red. We want that warmth of the sun to be hitting that horse. So I'm just going to keep rubbing it. And if you splash some red outside, you can fix that later. And I'm going to grab some more. We're going to go back over the top what we just did. I'm not going to use my finger for this one, as I think that it's still a little bit sticky. I'll probably ruin it. So I'm using my brush and just trying to blend a little more color on top of it. And this is just to get us started. You may or may not be able to see it. You can probably see a little bit of that. I think you can see a little bit of that red start to show up. But we're not done yet. This layer gives me an idea of what this is going to be. And in the meantime, while this dries really quick, what we're going to do is take some yellow and some red and mix an orange. And I'm going to start going along the edge of the horse, close to the sun, and I'm going to spread a layer of orange right along where the sun would be. A little bit on the underside, not as much, more so on the top. And if you can see that, you see how that orange starts to give the feeling of that warm sun. I do this with many objects. If I've got a detailed painting with all sorts of things going on, I spend a lot of time just doing little things like this. Really make a big difference. Okay, so now let's take some more of that orange. It's more of like a red orange. This is a little bit thicker. And there we go. Yeah, that's gonna be a little thicker. I'm able to get this accomplished without blending with my finger right now, so I'm going to keep going. Just the brush. You just have to feel it up. You'll know, the more and more you do this, you'll know what tool is best for any given situation. Sometimes it's just consistency of the paint. If you've got the paint that maybe is a little bit too much water in it, you'll feel it out. You'll get an idea of what works best for a certain situation. So right there, I just kind of recognize that the paint feels right at a certain consistency, certain tackiness for a finger in it, and you'll be able to recognize that the more and more that you do it. So now you should be able to see that really starting to pop up. And I'm nowhere near happy with it, but we're starting to get that a little closer. All right, so well, let's take a little more. Let's put it a little further back. Well, it's looking all right for right now anyways. Let's take some yellow and some white. Get a brighter orange. Let's bring that brighter orange along this leading edge here. And I'm just going to kind of push it out. Doing a lot of experimenting right now. Don't really know what's going to work best. Not perfect right there. I'm not super happy with it. But you just gotta keep going. You'll figure it out. I'll put some more down here. And let's just bring that up a little higher. Up into this area. So this process is gonna take me a little while. I think you can probably start getting the idea of what I'm doing here. So that's starting to look a little bit warm. It's all right. Let's take some white and let's mix some white in that leading edge. Let's brighten that part up. Right where the sun is. Let's take some yellow. Let's mix that in. And let's fan that out a little bit. Start with that and just see what this does. A little better. Yeah, not bad. Take some more white, some more yellow, really brighter. So these leading areas need to be a little brighter, I'm deciding. I want to see some light coming through. Sometimes just that bright red will work, but in this case I think we're too close to the sun. It's got to be very, very diluted right in this area. We can add more red, I think, as we get further back, but we need to have that bright area to make it work. And it's starting to look like a light source. A little bit. Definitely not there yet, though. So what I'm going to do, I think you've got the idea. I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to keep doing just exactly this. And where I think some light is shining through, I'm going to brighten it with these orange, warm yellows, and then some deeper reds as we get further back here. I'm going to try to make this really believable. Kind of the camera lens effect of a sun, where you get that red glow against the black. So I'm going to keep just working at that. And as this dries, I'll go back over with some red. I'll wash some red, some deep red down in here, kind of glaze that in. Just going back and forth. I'm going to brighten this area. Just keep doing what I'm doing. Okay, so that's a little bit better. I have the transition a little bit closer to how I want it. I kind of overlapped into the sun area. I'll have to fix that. Some of this around the chin, different areas I'll have to just basically clean up. Just try to smooth a little bit of that out. But in general, I think that gives the sun a lot more depth. It really makes it a believable light source. So I'm going to work a little bit, touch on some of these details that I'll add towards the end. I'm going to take some red, I'm going to take some black, and kind of a reddish black. And I'm going to add some of the details of the mane. And I'm going to kind of press that in. And so this is going to be, I'm going to grab a little more red. And I'm going to take some water with that. This is just kind of a reddish black. And so details like this is these fine details that I don't want to do too early, because when I have to blend over the sky, I don't want to have to paint this over and over again. So this is kind of, these are kind of the final touches. So I'll end up doing little details like this towards the end. Get some more water, get some more black. Not covering quite as well as I'd like it to. A little more water, a little more black. There we go. That's looking pretty good. So I'm going to keep working a little more towards the end here. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some quinacridone, I'm going to take some blue, I'm going to take some white. Very kind of a kind of a light violet. And that's going to start to create some highlights along the ground. And I want a different kind of light. So I want all of this to be affected by the light, by the sun, but I want this to be affected a little differently. Because it's a little further away, I'm going to try to get maybe this color is what I'm mixing, and then adding some white to it. So let's speed this up. Let's just kind of twirl this around. And we got some sage coming up right here. So these will be the highlights. This is the stuff that's kind of out in front. Just subtle, not too bright. Doesn't take away a lot, but definitely some highlights. Okay, let's stop. Let's switch to some black. Now let's add some black underneath that. I do grasses all different kinds of ways. This is just kind of how I'm feeling today. You use all different kinds of brushes to produce. This isn't grass. What I'm kind of envisioning is some just kind of some sporadic brush. Thinking of sage over here. I think this is just kind of some random stuff through here. And more sage over here, I'm thinking. And I want to start covering up some of these lower legs. Kind of hide some of it. Yeah, they're not perfect, especially down low. So we're going to hide some of that. You won't even know. Yeah, let's switch to a bigger brush. Grab some more black. And let's darken some of this area. Just for now, at least. All right. Okay, so right now, I might add a little few more details in the brush. I need to work on the horse a little bit around this red area. But for the brush area, what I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to take some dark violet, really rich violet. What I'm going to do is I'll add indications of more brush below the horizon. Just real subtle. Just a little bit of ambient light, picking that up. Just like that. I'm just kind of just smudging in that color right into it. So I'll keep working on a few small details like that. Other than that, that's all I'm going to do, and that'll be a finished painting. So I'm going to work a little bit more on this, and I'll speed it up, but I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have questions, please ask, and of course, like, share, subscribe to my channel. I have many more videos to come, so thanks for watching, guys. I hope you